new horizon and a day, it all came true. Keller Williams, you make dreams come true. Home sweet home, oh home sweet home, home sweet home.
Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. Here's your host, Russ McClellan.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. I appreciate you tuning in. There's a lot of things you can be doing on this Saturday morning. Listening to me, listening to one of our shows on all of the different platforms these days. We're kicking it out to iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. What else can we do? I haven't quite graduated yet, I don't think, to Snapchat or TikTok or XYZ because I'm old and I'm still getting used to Facebook, so let alone everything else. But today, I have a good friend that I've got to know recently, Nate Woods. Welcome.
Hey, welcome.
Welcome to the Keller Williams team, buddy.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here. Love it.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I loved this show probably more than anything else. I just love introducing people to the world, and you know, we've grown rapidly. We're the fastest and the largest, fastest growing, and the largest real estate company in all of North Central Washington. We're pushing 70 real estate brokers now.
Oh man!
And every month we're getting more and more traction. It's almost like we're a legit company.
Well, that's good to hear.
Two and a half years later.
Glad I joined with a real company.
Yeah, right. We're not fictitious. It actually exists. And you know, it's from Canada. We have people in Canada, almost to Canada, the Canadian border, Republic, all the way to Leavenworth to Ephrata. So,
Nice.
And everything in between. And that's neat because we're a company that's for agents by agents. It's a very different concept, and it's probably... Well, it's been proven. We're the largest real estate company on the planet as a franchise. We're in about 55, 56 countries and climbing, about 180,000 agents.
Nice.
And essentially it's the same system just about everywhere, which is really, again, for the brokers. Traditionally, companies historically, as you might know, have been more top-down, my way or the highway. I've been in the business 32 years, so, you know, I've always tried to run teams, but we were all traditional, and we all kind of had a different mindset. As the world has evolved in real estate, I think it's now about a consumer experience. So I'm curious, Nate, maybe you could just share some things with me and maybe share some things with the people that don't know who Nate Woods is. What makes you tick?
Yeah, no problem. I guess kind of what makes me tick is my family. They've been my priority number one from the get-go. Just recently had our first kid.
Nice.
Yeah, back
Congrats.
in October. Going to be one here pretty soon. So, yeah, that's changed motivation levels and everything for me completely. You know, seeing what I can do for other families in the area and other people, and I have a nice new scope about things, and so that really helps. And I've always been taught to like take everything that I can and do everything that I can to the best of my abilities. You know, my parents, they showed me that, especially my upbringing. And so, yeah, that's kind of what makes me tick at the moment. We'll see what happens.
Now, did you grow up here?
Yeah. I grew up in Eastern Washington. I'm actually from the Tri-Cities.
Okay.
I grew up there.
Right.
And then I moved up here. I had a little familiarity with Wenatchee area for sports. I'd come up here and, you know, we do a lot of sporting activities up here in Wenatchee. And then I moved up here. I was supposed to manage Sherwin-Williams. And then I fell in love with Wenatchee because, you know, who wouldn't in their right mind fall in love with Wenatchee when you see it? And then you get to know the people, how inviting everything is, how great the community is. So, yeah,
and
here now.
And you, and you know, I tell you what, that gives you a pretty unique experience. You know, I was one of those guys. I grew up in Chelan, so my whole life, practically, almost all my adult life in real estate has been in Chelan until we did Keller Williams, and we expanded now. But that gave me some strengths, but I've always said that it also gives people, they have some opportunities if they've moved to an area to really understand what it's like for other people that are moving to the area.
Oh yeah.
And you can kind of get that perspective. And then as you learn, now you've been here a few, how many years you been in Wenatchee now?
I've been here close to 4 years now.
Yeah, so like 4 years later, you kind of have the best of both worlds, where you know know the town real well, and you also have a lot of connections in the Tri-Cities. So it's really cool that people bring this integrity and what you're talking about with that familial connection. And if I remember right, you have a lot of brothers and sisters.
Yeah, there's 9 of us kids in my family. So, yeah,
Where do you fit
all blood
in
related.
Where do you fit in the 9?
It's weird. I always was the middle child, but now after because my family it goes from 35 to 5. Wow. So after that second, we call it the second family. After they all came, I became the third oldest. So kind of unique.
Right.
Yeah. So I grew up as a middle child, but now I'm the third oldest. So kind of different perspective.
Yeah, I bet that is. And that's so cool, because to me, I was an oops baby. So my, my sister Kelly, I have 2 older sisters, and I was kind of the oops baby. So I was kind of raised a little later in life, right? Like the second set. But by being kind of like an only child in that respect, but my best friend, growing up, Frank Phelps, he's in Chelan too, but he was 9 of 9.
Oh man,
kids. And so,
wow.
And we were close. We went K through 12 together, and then we both played basketball at Wenatchee Valley, and then we actually lived together at Central for a while. And so it was always interesting, because in his family, I'll tell you a funny story. His mom she was a beautiful person, passed away, but she was a beautiful person, and she made everything from scratch.
Oh, nice.
Right. And then my mom worked at a bank, and my dad worked. And so I was kind of a latchkey kid.
Okay,
so I'd go to lunch in elementary school, and I'd have the Twinkies, and he would have the homemade bread something. And we would always swap.
I understand that. What's funny is I grew up with really young parents. So me and my older siblings, we have a totally different life experience compared to these younger ones. My dad became more successful. My mom, she already had a bunch of kids. So now she's really good at being the mom and structured and everything like that at the home now. And so very, very different upbringings. I would be the kid that was had the kind of a junk food, or didn't have the homemade meals always. And now these kids, my little brothers and sisters, we call them spoiled, but really they're just blessed, right?
Right. It's all about perspective and whether you're
completely different upbringings.
Well, I had kids pretty early. My daughter's now 20. What is she? 28, and my son's 23. But so I was 21, and their mom was 20 at the time, so we were pretty young.
Yeah.
And it does change things.
Yeah.
And it's exciting time for you.
Yeah, I would. Well, because I always was. My parents, they had their kids. Started the family pretty young too, and then I remember being 20, 21. They're like, "When are you gonna have a kid?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I feel pretty young to be having a kid."
Right.
And now I'm 29, and so it's a little different. I feel young, but I also feel like the right age. So we'll see how that turns out. Maybe I'm still a little young. I don't know.
Man, I'm 51. I'm just getting started.
Nice.
Maybe not with kids again.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Still living young,
hey,
though, right?
Whatever's meant to be is meant to be, right?
Yeah.
If I'm, I think it's a blessing. I think you have the sincerity. One thing that if I said, if what do you think of Nate when I first met you, I could tell that you were a sincere, integrity-based human and cared about people.
Oh man, thanks.
And it's after a while you can kind of tell when someone's ego-driven or when someone is really coming from a place of humility and a learning-based mentality, where we realize that one thing about our culture is that we try to, and be learning-based, we try to embrace the fact that everybody brings something to the table. And the fact that we're growing to be as large as we are and continue to grow, and we have big plans to continue to even grow much bigger, but it's great because it's like a melting pot of wisdom.
Yeah.
And as long as we have that culture where we can all work together and we can all, the person that's been in the business one day can teach the person like myself that's been in the business 32 years. I mean, it's true. I mean, it's true. I learn from everyone every single day because I in the grand scope, I'm just a speck, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not that important. You know, I think, and helping people, right? Like you said, you want to help families and help others realize that dream of real estate. That's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, and you talk about experience. I mean, like getting back to that one point where we discussed about moving into Wenatchee, and as you know, so many people are moving from out of state or out of Wenatchee into Wenatchee right now, and it's sometimes nice for them to relate to somebody that's also shared in that experience.
Yes.
Like, hey, what can I expect? What do I need to know? Because this area is really different compared to a lot of areas across the United States, even within our own state as well too.
Yeah, absolutely true. I mean, I think it's a very, very good point. And I believe it's just starting. And we were talking about how people that sometimes, like I said about myself, sometimes by growing up in an area, I'm a little bit skewed, and I have to make sure that I constantly open my mind up to what's the experience like for other people that maybe don't. My grandmother came from Missouri on a covered wagon.
Yeah.
She passed away at 101, and she. And my dad was raised in Manson, and my mom was the Manson Apple Blossom Princess in 1956.
Oh man, that's really cool.
And
that's really cool.
And I had a whopping 22 kids in my senior class, of which 16 of us were K through 12. Like, my perspective is pretty small. I joke around and I say often that some people are worldly. I'm more countyly. I know where Eniat's at, right?
Yeah, well, hey, you're pretty, like, you embrace everybody, and that's what keeps you away from being that little small county person.
Yeah. The big fish, little pond. Not that I was always like that. I had to learn some things. But hey, when we come right back, I appreciate it. I really am enjoying having you as a partner. I'm excited to see things you're going to do. We'll be right back with another segment with Nate Woods, Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends, in just a few seconds.
Home sweet home. Home sweet home. Oh, home sweet home.
Hi, this is Russ McClellan, operating partner and designated broker of Keller Williams Realty, North Central Washington. Hey, thanks for tuning into our show each and every Saturday morning. I wanted to share the fact that we've been in business now about a year and a half. We have over 50 real estate agents, and there's a reason for that. Mainly, it's relationship and culture. Sometimes people definitely look at the money and the commissions and the splits. But at the end of the day, it's about relationships, trust, that familial connection that you have at Keller Williams. That's what we strive to do, and that's how we look at our clients. We now have offices in Brewster, Chelan, and Wenatchee. We have agents in Wenatchee and East Wenatchee and Cashmere and Leavenworth, Chelan, Brewster. Really having a good time. So if you're interested in learning about why is Keller Williams Realty growing as fast as we've grown and have as many agents that are focused on their clients as we do, give us a call at 509-888-0038 or just stop by and see us at 1111 North Mission Street right here in Wenatchee.
You're listening to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. And here's Russ.
Hey, welcome back to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. Thanks for tuning in this Saturday morning. I really mean it. We're in an interesting time right now, and so taking your time out to listen to this show means a lot. Gosh, we're going on to almost 70 shows or something. It's crazy. Having a good time. And today I'm with a friend of mine and a new partner in Keller Williams, Nate Woods. How you doing, Nate?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good.
We talking a little bit about everything, and what's cool about people that are just genuinely good people is that there's an old saying, people like people that are like themselves. Well, if you're a good person, then typically you're going to do more business than being a not so good person. I can tell that you have a spirit of generosity and one of selflessness, and that you really do care about your client. Is that true, Nate?
Yeah, I would say that's true. I kind of get that from my dad. He was a salesman for a long time, and he was never like one of those silver tongue, which he could have been, kind of the people that could sell anything to anybody. I mean, he has a talent for that, but he definitely wasn't. He was all about integrity. He said, "Don't be in sales if you don't believe in what you're selling," and it's a good product, that you're a good person, that you are going to keep your word, that you are who you are in a good sense. And so I try to take every bit of that, what I was taught, into whatever I'm doing, especially in sales now that I'm in, I try to help people really is what I do. I'm a very fiduciary, and I try to help people. So I work in their best interests, not mine.
Right. And it's so important in today's world because you said a key word, fiduciary. And if you don't know what that word is, you should look it up because it's a very important word. And when when you entrust someone like Nate to work for you and to be your fiduciary, that means that you're trusting him, that he will always have your best interest at heart and do everything he can for you. Now, in the world of real estate, Nate, we've seen this happen where people are becoming functionaries. And a good example of this would be a call that I'm getting more and more. Hey, will you open a door for me?
Yeah.
Because I'm in Seattle and I have my friend who wants to buy in Wenatchee, but I don't want to drive over and I really don't know the market. So would you mind just opening a door and then I'll write it up and represent him? Like, that's a functionary. Like, that's not how it should work.
No, that isn't how it should work at all. I mean, if you're not going to be with your client through it all, experiencing the house, that's the investment and that's their life. So if you're not going to be there through it all, then you just become a function throughout the cog of like this machine. And that's definitely not, I mean, if that was the case, then things could just completely go, off like on the grid and, do it electronically. But that's not how it works. People don't want that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things behind the scenes that it's like I joke around when people say, well, they're my best friend, so I have to represent them. I'm like, if I had a best friend and that person wanted to buy a downtown Seattle high-rise condominium, I would be screwing them over by representing them. So the last thing I'm going to do is do that for them. I'm going to refer them to somebody that knows that because I love that person. I don't want them to be hurt. I want them to have the best service. So not that we can't work together across the state. We do a lot of it. But I love the fact that you just understand that. And where do you think real estate's going, Nate? What do you think's going to happen here? Where this world pandemic and crazy demand. What is your take?
Oh man, I think this could go in a lot of different ways. As far as what it means for the people that are buying and selling homes, on the personal level, on the intimate level, I think that they'll be given more options. Surprisingly. People are going to want to make things happen. And so I think that it will keep on going for the better. I'm pretty optimistic about it for everybody in the long run. And here localized in Eastern Washington and Wenatchee area and Central Washington, I really only seen it progressing for the better. We have a really strong economy, to be honest. And we should be doing fine. Everybody, this is just a very scenic area. You come here and it's just one of the most beautiful places you'll ever see. So people kind of want to be here even outside of work. And so we're kind of getting the best of both worlds, and that will kind of keep on driving. And as long as we keep the economy as strong as it is, I think that will just give everybody more opportunities. And interest rates are nice and low, so that should help people that are wanting to get into homes. As more people get back to being employed, then, more houses will be bought. And then the people that own homes and have those equities, they'll have more options for their future.
You hit the nail on the head with interest rates. I mean, boy, historical lows is probably a good time to buy, right? Because one thing when you're at the bottom, probably only one way it can go over time is up.
It's up.
So maybe now, a lot of people don't realize this, but, you're willing, if somebody gave you a call, Nate, and said, I'm renting, you're willing to talk to them, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if they just didn't know, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know if I can buy. Can I call Nate and find out?
Yeah, I actually love working with first-time home buyers. It's a hard process, not necessarily in buying your home, but just in understanding the steps that it takes to get to buying your home. I can help out with that. I can show you kind of where things are going, because right now is a great time to buy. But if you're scared of that first step of like talking with somebody about lending or going to look at the homes, and you don't feel confident enough to be qualified, reach out, because it's a really simple process. There's hardly any obligation on your end to go out and look at homes to see what the first, second steps to buying a home are. And more than likely, you're pretty qualified, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing about these rates, two something. I've actually seen a 1 something.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. And, while we're talking about getting a hold of you, I'm going to give you your number out. So Nate Woods, a broker with Keller Williams Realty with us now as a business partner, like we all are at this company, because we're a profit-sharing company. So there's a sincere incentive for everybody to work well with each other. Not that Nate doesn't. He's one of those naturally nice guys. And he...
Try to be.
Yeah. His number is 509. So get that pin out, Nate Woods, 509-679-7189. Or if you'd rather just email Nate a question, it's Nate Woods, so NATEWOODS @KW.com. You hit, there's a couple things that you said. One of them that I want to make clear, it doesn't cost anybody anything.
Oh, no.
To get started.
Not at all. I think a lot of people think it does.
Right.
To be honest with you. They think that it, to hire out like a fiduciary or to get somebody to work in your interests, it costs a lot of money up front, and it doesn't. That's the nice part.
Yeah, the seller actually pays our commissions, even though we can represent you as a buyer.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing. You're taking listings, you're working with buyers, you're also taking lots of listings. You can do both sides. The key to that, just so everybody that isn't familiar with that, is the key is just in the beginning. Which hat am I going to wear? So if I represent you, then we talk about that, and I represent you as a buyer, or if I'm representing you as a seller, and that's fully disclosed up front. So the key is to take that first step, because really, there are certain situations that renting is absolutely the right thing to do, and you shouldn't feel like there's nothing wrong with renting. There are some advantages, though. If you can buy something and have just about the same, if not the same monthly payment, and we can get you in with really low out-of-pocket costs, then you can start to build that equity.
Oh yeah, big time.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, if with what we are able to offer here at Keller Williams, it's one of the main reasons why I wanted to come work at Keller Williams, because of what they can do for people that are wanting to buy homes, as far as low closing costs, essentially. And that's something that I want to bring to all the people that I work with, because that's just something to help them in their life and where they're set after buying a home. So, just make the whole process easier for everybody, especially the buyer.
Yeah, Keller Mortgage is amazing. I mean, it's, our founder, Gary Keller, went out and bought a bank. Basically said, value the property, he has 180,000 agents in 55 countries or something and climbing, and it's a way that people can borrow money without paying fees. Yeah. And it's, if nothing else, I mean, if nothing else, at least it's another thing to compare, just apples to apples.
Oh yeah, big time.
And it doesn't cost anybody anything to be pre-qualified. So when you're really thinking about it, don't let that first step stop you, because, Nate, I think that you're a fantastic resource for people that are getting into this business. But the good news is you're a passionate guy, right? So no matter who you work for, whether it's $1 million home or whether it's a first-time home buyer, you're going to give it everything you got.
Oh yeah, I try to bring like a great level of expertise and a great level of passion and drive to everybody that I work with. That's what you get when you work with me, is you're going to get that consistently throughout. So I try to be on the spot. I try to be, on call essentially to help people out, because, I'm really passionate about helping people in their lives. That's essentially what it is. I mean, yeah, it's an investment, but more so it's their lives that they're dealing with. And that's what I'm really passionate about. So
yeah, and it's a big decision.
Yeah.
And to care about someone at that level is so important. Attention to detail is also important. One of the things at Keller Williams we try to do is we try to make sure that we're our leadership team, we're trying to help our agents. So we look at it like our agents are our clients. So you have the full force of the management team, and then I have the full force as an operating partner of the regional director, and the regional director has the full force of Gary Keller.
Yeah, I can attest to that. It's been good.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun. Well, When we get into the next segment here, I'm going to talk a little bit about some articles that I've been reading. And if you don't mind, stick around and kind of letting me dive into something.
Will do.
I appreciate it. You can get a hold of Nate, 679-7189. We'll be right back in just a few minutes with Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and friends.
Home sweet home. Home sweet home. Oh, home sweet home.
Hi, this is Russ McClellan, operating partner with Keller Williams Realty and the host of this show, Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and friends. I want to take just a minute to say a heartfelt thank you for your support and tuning into our show each and every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. I'm very proud to share that we are celebrating our 50th radio show this month and launching into our third consecutive year of this show, all thanks to you. I also want to thank all the amazing people that were kind enough to come on the show and share their stories, thoughts, fears, wisdom, and experiences with all of us over the last 2 years, including my co-hosts and friends, Sharon Crockett and Michael Maher with Prime Lending. I personally have made some amazing friendships as a direct result of this radio show, and I couldn't be more grateful. As always, throw the phone in the drawer, be present, spend some time with your friends and loved ones, and make it a fantastic Saturday. Thanks again for your amazing support of Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and friends. Hi, this is Russ McClellan, operating partner and designated broker of Keller Williams Realty, North Central Washington. Hey, thanks for tuning into our show each and every Saturday morning. I wanted to share the fact that we've been in business now about a year and a half. We have over 50 real estate agents, and there's a reason for that. Mainly, it's relationship and culture. You know, sometimes people definitely look at the money and the commissions and the splits, but at the end of the day, it's about relationships, trust, that familial connection that you have at Keller Williams. That's what we strive to do, and that's how we look at our clients. We now have offices in Brewster, Chelan, and Wenatchee. We have agents in Wenatchee and East Wenatchee and Cashmere and Leavenworth, Chelan, Brewster. Really having a good time. So if you're interested in learning about why is Keller Williams Realty growing as fast as we've grown and have as many agents that are focused on their clients as we do, give us a call at 509-888-0038 or just stop by and see us at 1111 North Mission Street right here in Wenatchee.
You're tuned to Russ McClellan and friends on the real estate show Home Sweet Home. Let's get back to Russ.
Hey, welcome back to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan. And today got Nate Woods here. How you doing, Nate?
Hey, I'm doing really good.
Good. Last couple shows talking about real estate and Nate Woods at kw.com. You can also get a hold of Nate on his cell phone, 509-679-7189. I can guarantee you Nate will give it everything he has to protect you and get you what you need.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. I'm excited to be in business with you. You know, the other day, a lot of times on this show, I'll take a left turn, dive into some strange things. So every once in a while, we do talk about real estate like we did today.
Yeah,
but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I talk about life.
That's good.
You know, I think we're in a weird time, man. I think we're kind of it's an election year, so every 4 years is a weird time in this country. There's it seems to me, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me like there's more polarizing thoughts than there has ever been.
You're right.
And maybe that's a product of social media. Maybe it's, there's more information available and it's very difficult to determine what is real, what is just something somebody threw out there as an agenda. And whether it's your friends or whether it's your acquaintances or whether it's people that might be on your social media accounts, for me personally, I find it fascinating that the triggers that are out there, that people are getting so emotional about everything. And I just was thinking about ego. What does that really mean? And I was reading this article recently, and I thought I'd just share some of them. And the article is by a guy named Ryan Holiday. It's actually fairly old. It came out April 27th, 2018. So a few years ago. But the title was 25 Ways to Kill the Toxic Ego That Will Ruin Your Life. So it's really talking about one's self. And I thought about that a lot. When I was younger, some might have accused me of, let's say, having extreme youthful exuberance.
Yeah. Right.
I started in real estate when I was 19. So,
oh, man.
30 some years later, I'm not the same person I was a month ago, let alone when I was 20.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd just share some of these because it's pretty fascinating. One of them is this is pretty interesting. Choose a live time over dead time. And what this article says, according to author Robert Greene, there are two types of time in our lives. Dead time, when people are passive and waiting, and a live time when people are learning and acting and utilizing every second. What's interesting, and especially during a world pandemic, during failure, your ego will naturally pick dead time. And you start, woe is me. You start thinking the world's revolving around you and you're the only person. And your ego, if your ego is in a negative spin, you'll think that, I'm obviously the most important thing in the world. And this is only happening to me. And nobody else has ever suffered in the history of time. And
There's definitely truth to that.
yeah. And so, the idea is to counteract that is don't do that. Choose a live time, be aggressive. And, it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to understand that bad things happen to good people, but maybe there's an old saying, what happens to you doesn't define you, but maybe what you do next does.
Yeah.
So I thought that I thought that was interesting. Get out of your own head is another one. This self-aggrandizement where it's me, like self-centered and focused on yourself. I think we tend to, and I'm including me in this for sure. We tend to be defensive, right? Like instead of when someone tries to help you, instead of taking the constructive criticism, our natural ego says, What'd you say?
Right.
That's BS, man.
Yeah, we take it as all criticism is non-constructive.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, Nate, and it said, look, a lot of times it's thinking about, is the criticism coming from a place or a person that wants to help you? Or is it coming from a place or a person that has the intent on hurting you? And naturally, the example that they gave, and I'll get to it, but naturally our brains are so wired with so much data hitting us for the first time. And at least for an older guy like me, I'm 51. I remember when there was no cell phones, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like Nate, just kind of put it in perspective. I got into real estate when the fax machine wasn't invented yet.
Oh, man.
Yeah, like,
Man,
It's
okay.
amazing I'm alive, right? Like I'm so old. No, I'm 51. So I've learned a lot, but a good example of that was and you come from a big family. So you can imagine if your mom says something to you, Nate, that is constructive criticism, there's a pretty good chance you're going to listen to it.
Yeah.
Because you love your mom and you know that your mom loves you and that the intent is to help you. But see, naturally, I think we have a tendency to think everybody's out to get us. If it's coming from somebody maybe that we don't know, so we get defensive. And maybe analyzing that, maybe not everybody is out to get you. Maybe there are some people that really are trying to help you. And I talk about
That is
you,
true.
meaning just in general, right? Another one of these 25 ways to kill a toxic ego is let go of control. It says the poisonous need to control everything and micromanage is usually revealed with success. Ego starts saying it all must be done my way. Even little things, even inconsequential things, the solution is straightforward. A smart man or woman must regularly remind themselves of the limits of their power and reach. It's simple, but not easy. So kind of get out of our own way. The world isn't revolving around just one human.
That's good.
Right?
That's really good.
It's we can, and that's one of the things about Keller Williams that I love is I often say it, but I truly believe it. We are almost always smarter as a collective than we are as an individual. Everyone, whether you're day one in real estate and you're 18 years old or whether you've been in real estate for 50 years, both those people in that example can learn from each other. I learn from people every day. And the fact that I have 32 years experience sometimes helps me greatly and I can help others, but sometimes it actually hinders me. And there's a new or a fresh idea that maybe I'm not aware of. So by being a learning-based person and a company, I think that's a good culture for all of us.
Oh, yeah. I'd say the majority of us all really want the same thing in its own way. Not saying everybody does, but majority. And as long as we can embrace that, we can kind of go far.
Yeah. I mean, have a good life. Be at peace. I mean, be happy. Laugh a little bit. It's a good thing. This is kind of interesting. Place the mission and purpose above you. So, for example, we were just talking about fiduciary.
Oh, yeah.
You might have your own goals. You might have your own needs. Maybe they're monetary. Maybe they're more about helping how many families. But really, if you put someone else's needs in front of yours and just focus on that as the priority, maybe good things will happen. But I think sometimes instinctually, we're so caught up in what we think and like our little mind. And in Keller Williams, we call it the drunk monkey.
The drunk monkey?
The drunk monkey that sits on your shoulder telling you all these egotistical, or limiting beliefs like, oh, you can't do that or you can't do this.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, so we assassinate the drunk monkey around here.
That's cool. Yeah, I think all like tenets of like some philosophies out there, you know, whether it is you sow what you reap, you reap what you sow, karma, all those things, they kind of believe in that, like, hey, just go out and put something else better before yourself, right? Like, don't always be ego driven.
Yeah, well, that's the whole idea, right? And all of a sudden that takes the stress off too. Because that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself to think that you're all that in a bag of chips all the time. Yeah. I love this one. When you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Now, I just did this the other day. We have a managing broker, Stephanie, who's amazing. And she, you know, especially people that are in the first 2 years of their career, we legally need to watch their files. And I'm the designated broker of the company. So together we're kind of overwatching just to make sure that, you know, not to be critical, but just to coach through situations and make sure the T's are crossed, et cetera, because it is contracts. And I had given a piece of advice to one of our agents. Stephanie gave simultaneously, because we kind of worked together and tag team, a different piece of advice. And, you know, real estate is not always black and white. There's a lot of ways to look at things. So we talked and we tried to stay on the same page. And then I thought I was right. She thought she was right. And I had to stop digging because she was right and I was not right. I was like, well, there you go.
As long as you realize it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? You know, the act of self-awareness is a good thing, and realizing that you're not always right. I mean, nobody is. We're just not, right? So it's okay, and don't make things work worse by having an ego and saying, well, you know, this is always about, I'm always right. No. Most of the time, it's smarter as a collective. This is a good one, and I've actually gone through this. It says, don't be deceived by recognition, money, and success. Stay sober.
Oh, that's good. And
I can tell you, I once upon a time had a little bit of money before the recession, and I unknowingly found myself becoming something that I didn't want to be. I didn't know that I was even doing it. But what ends up happening is that money and power can intoxicate you. And just like when you're intoxicated by alcohol or something like that, you're going to find that you don't make the best decisions. That you kind of can, it's easy to lose track of what's really important, and you don't necessarily do it intentionally. And so staying sober, and staying sober not in the alcohol sense, but staying sober when you do achieve something, that to realize that it probably took a lot of people to help you get there. Yeah. And, you know, your friends, your family, your educators, whoever, right? Your whole life, it was really probably less to do with you than it was to do with a whole bunch of other people that supported you. So just stay sober, realizing that regardless, you know, like Jeff Bezos often says, like, I have to stay focused on the present and not get too excited about the things I've accomplished, or they can go away.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, and, you know, I learned that one the hard way. Well, anyway, I appreciate you coming in. We got one more segment with Sharon Crockett and Prime Lending. Man, Nate, I'm glad you're with our company. If you want to get a hold of Nate Woods with Keller Williams, 679-7189. You can also email Nate at natewoods@kw.com. Thanks for coming in, Nate.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll be right back with Sharon Crockett and Prime Lending.
Home sweet home. Home sweet home. Oh, home sweet home.
Hi, this is Russ McClellan, designated broker at Keller Williams Realty. If you're thinking of selling your home, why hire us? We have a few simple goals. First, our job is to make you more money in less time by exposing your property to more people than anyone in the business. Second, we will simplify the process. Your Keller Williams expert advisor will identify simple solutions in a real estate world that can sometimes get a tad complex. Third,
We will save you time. We will handle the entire process necessary to achieve your real estate goal so you don't have to. We work for you. Finally, we keep you out of trouble. Let's face it, we live in a litigious society and real estate is a big ticket item. Truly knowing how to do the right things in the right order is very important. Hey, call us today and let's talk about how we can achieve these goals for you. 509-888-0038 or simply stop by our office located directly across the street from McDonald's at 1111 North Mission Street. Hi, this is Russ McClellan, operating partner of Keller Williams. I want to thank you for supporting my radio show as we enter our third year of broadcasting. We are going to continue to provide an emphasis this year on real estate education by inviting our affiliate partners to share their knowledge and expertise, as well as discuss current real estate trends and topics with all of us. I'm also excited to introduce our Keller Williams brokers individually so you can get to know them as I do. Sincerely, thank you for supporting Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. Call us anytime at 509-888-0038 or stop by our office at 1111 North Mission Street.
You're listening to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. And here's Russ.
Hey, welcome back to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. Hey, we're in the fourth segment. You know what that means? Finance. And today we have not Michael Maher. We kicked him out. No, just kidding. We got Sharon Crockett, his partner in crime. Hi, Sharon.
Yes. Hi, Russ. How are you?
I'm great. Having a good time. Man, we're growing our firm. And you know, it's the fun thing about growing is I'm meeting so many new people that we all bring something unique to the collective experience. And it kind of goes right along with your website, right? YourStoryBeginsHere.net. And I love it. I've always loved that one. You know, one of the things we talked about off air, so I thought maybe we'd just dive right in. And that's something that I think everybody should pay attention to. And so let's have a discussion around time frames of closing as it relates to lending, which then as that relates in the lending process to appraisals. What I'm seeing is that we face a double-edged sword as real estate brokers. When we have a willing and able buyer and a willing and able seller, and let's say we're representing the buyer, we want to keep that time frame between the time we make the offer and the time we actually close the deal as short as possible. And historically, maybe 3 or 4 weeks was plenty of time to get the appraisal, get the home looked at, maybe get an inspection, and then close the deal, do all the processing. But I don't think those are the days that we can count on right now. Are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, the national average closing time frame, I just watched an article, and it's 47 days on a national average. And we're blessed to be much less than that. We're still clipping along at around, our purchases, 25 to 30 days, but that's tight. And there's a cost to that. And, we try to keep that very tight and be proactive along the way with our appraisers. But with all the competition, it's tough for you guys, I understand, trying to get that deal accepted on the other end and having to maybe sacrifice a few days here or there to be competitive. And then later having to, communicate that, well, maybe we might not be able to close in 20 days or whatever it is. And so it's all about managing expectations among all parties, but the challenge is there as far as the competition.
Yeah, one of the things that is a real deal is that when rates drop to historical lows, a lot of people say, great, I'm paying 4 or 5 or 6% on my current mortgage. I'm going to refinance into 2.5 or 3.5. And so the appraisers get, not only from the real estate broker's perspective that we deal in new buys and we don't deal in refinances so much, but you do as a lender and the appraisers do. So the appraisers are not only being asked to do because we have a strong real estate market with a lot of buyers, especially buyers moving in from other places that can now live and work in the same place, but they're also being asked to do all these appraisals for refinances. So when you think about just the number of appraisers, in fact, I had an appraiser on my show a few months ago, and one of the things I wasn't quite aware of is that they've passed some rules after the recession that basically said, and they've adopted even more stringent rules, that if you don't know what you're doing, you can get in big trouble, right? So if you appraise something in an area that you're not accustomed to or that you're unfamiliar with, and you screw up, you could be held accountable as an appraiser at a very, very high level, very big fines and so on. So they're cautious about that. And then they also passed, as we look back in time, as you know, they made a lot of regulations more stringent after the recession of 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever that was, back in the Great Recession days. And they said, hey, look, we want you to go get more education. In fact, to be an appraiser, you now have to have 2 years of apprenticeship before you can be an appraiser. And that means somebody has to allow you to be an apprentice. Well, I know from personal experience, we had someone in our office, his spouse tried to get on with an appraising firm in our area and said she'd work for free for 2 years. And nobody would pick her up. And she was very professional, right? So I don't know. Like, to me, the supply constraint is a challenge, right? Because now all of a sudden, if you have 100 appraisals to do and you only have time for 10, what happens? Well, best case is it's a delay. And I want to caution, I don't know if you're seeing this, but I want to caution people, don't make those deadlines, those closing dates too tight, because there's no guarantee that the seller will extend just because you need them to.
Right.
That's a dangerous
definitely.
game.
Yeah, you definitely want to be a little bit more proactive among all parties, but it takes a cooperative effort because we've got several real estate agents and several lenders, and everybody's competing for that competitive edge. And I guess I would encourage those out there to be not only thinking about the closing date, but the other items, which you're very well aware of, that can create a competitive offer as far as proactive phone calls and inspections and earnest monies and different kinds of things that can create competitive edge without sacrificing too short of a time frame. And often sellers are, they're selling a home and then they're buying their next home. And sometimes these transactions are 2 or 3 or 4 transactions deep. So if you're depending on a closing date for the next closing date for the next closing date, then if one person is short because it was cut too short, then that affects everybody down the line. And so it's just all a matter of, managing buyers' expectations, sellers' expectations, and everybody's expectations. So.
Yeah, it's very true. I often say unmet expectations on the inside lead to disappointment, and on the outside lead to litigation. So
it's very true, unfortunately.
It's good to, and to your point, one of the best ways, if you're a buyer, that can strengthen your negotiating position in a competitive environment is to call Sharon Crockett and get underwritten pre-approval. And there's a difference between a pre-qualification letter that you might get on the internet that says, yes, you're qualified if, this and 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 this happens. That doesn't really mean much. But if you actually get a hold of Sharon at Prime Lending and say, I'd like to make an application. I'd like you to verify my employment, verify my income, run all my numbers. Then when you come to us as a real estate broker or in conjunction with us as a team, we make your offer and we can provide a piece of paper that says this person has been researched and is 100% qualified. That will put you in
it makes such a difference.
Yeah, to your point, that is a way to put yourself in the best negotiating. That's the next best thing to cash.
Well, yeah, and sometimes people are a little leery. I mean, you can reach us, by the way, at yourstorybeginshere.net. And, sometimes I'll have that call where someone's just wanting to do a pre-qualification. They're afraid to get their credit checked. They don't want their scores to go down. And the reality is that, you can have quite a few people check your credit within a 2-week time period, and it's not going to affect your score at all. So you can get a couple different opinions if you need to, but that pre-qualification is more just a conversation. And so I had a client the other day that said, I just want to get pre-qualified. I've been talking to a couple different lenders. And so we got them all dialed in. And then she said, well, I'll let you know. And then she found a house she wanted. And I said, all I need are your items and we can finish that pre-approval. I just need your financial, tax returns, pay stubs, allow me to run your credit. It's good for 4 months. We don't have to keep running it. Let's get you dialed in so now you can, be rest assured you can make an offer when you find that house.
Yeah, it's a fantastic approach to making a very strategic decision to buy one of the biggest investments you'll ever make in a competitive arena where there is a lot of buyers looking, especially in certain price points. So one of the best, the other way is we can just get a hold of you on your cell, right? It's 425-327-1451. So if you want to get a hold of Sharon Crockett and talk about how you can buy a house and the process in which to go from A to Z and be in the best competitive environment you can be in, call this number. Got a pen? All right. Here it comes. 425-327-1451. And basically have this conversation, because I think just like we're basically counselors. It's a lot of emotion, and expectations are very important. I've seen some worst case scenarios out there as far as delays where a seller says, a month in, well, we only need a week extension. Well, I know, but I think maybe, my friend at work said somebody would buy my house for 10 grand more. So, I think I'm just going to see if they'll pay me 10 grand more and just not extend. Now, the funny thing about that is most of the time there's a catch. So I always counsel sellers, that old adage as a kid, the bird in the hand's worth two in the bush, and secondly, you have to start this whole process over again. So
and there's no guarantees.
Yeah, there's definitely no guarantees. And most of the time, just like when we were kids and played the telegraph game, by the time you come back around and get the real story, that person may not even be qualified. So you've lost a willing and able buyer.
Yeah. Yeah, greed is definitely not a motivator. It's so tempting for people to go there. And I've seen it time and time again, where they're not willing to work with the buyers. And so it takes a proactive approach where sometimes we have to get involved and call the seller or the listing agent and just keep the deal together if there is a situation like that, just to keep everyone calm and, hey, let's get to the finish line, and make it a success story for everybody.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly what you do. I've seen it time and time again. So I appreciate it. We're coming to the end of this segment and another show, so thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Always good to talk to you and be on here with you.
Yeah, we'll have to kick Michael out of this more often so we can talk to each other.
Yeah, he's up hunting, so we take turns, and we love it.
No, you guys work awesome as a team with incredible communication, which is, again, half the battle, right? Getting people to really communicate is the essence of any good transaction. So anyway, but as always, everyone out there in the land of COVID, this thing is going to end someday.
Yep.
Tough times don't last, but tough people do. And maybe just try to be kind. Maybe try to demonstrate a little more grace than usual. Maybe try to reach out and forgive a little bit more than usual. Because stress manifests itself in a lot of ways, and we don't always know what people are going through in their daily lives. So sometimes being just a little bit nicer, a little bit more patient helps. So throw that phone in the drawer, go spend some time hunting like Michael, or friends and family, and get out in nature. We live in a beautiful place. We're very blessed, and try to find some gratitude because it does take the stress away. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great Saturday.
Thanks, Russ.
It's a bright new day just came my way. I bought a new home, home sweet home. Oh, home sweet home. Keller Williams, I love my dream home. Home sweet